Oh boy. Oh, so I try not to look at things like the review before, you know, I actually do the video. Because I don't want my opinion being influenced, nor do I really want to be spoiled. But then you have fucking asmongold. Fucking the title of the video is IGN Dragon Age Veilguard Review. And literally on the thumbnail, it says, the number. And I'm like, God damn it. Fuck. Shit. So, I mean, now that it's obvious, I guess I'll just shit on the points, right? And the things that I was told. So, Dragon Age Veilguard Review by IGN. Let's see if I can even find that. No, okay, well, I'm done looking now. Alright, let's just give it a look. Look, my prediction, I don't think I said this on recording, but my prediction is, like most AAA games, you'll have journalists rate them relatively high, but the gamers, the consumers, people who actually play games are going to rate them relatively low. And, I mean, you'll have people that play it because it's literally their fucking job, right? So, like, Moist Critical, maybe even Angry Joe. Other, big streamers, Queso, hell, I don't even know if Asmongold's going to fucking play this game. And it's just people shitting on it. And, yeah, that's effectively, and it's going to be this way with any game that comes out in AAA. Like, journalists, companies have completely shut themselves off from the consumer, right? And they only talk to journalistic gaming outlets, rabid Twitterites and shills online, and they shut their brains to you, the person actually puts food on their fucking table. And I mean, it's just, they're on this downward spiral, and though I can respect people, I can respect people that make a stance and goes down with this ship. I can't respect companies for doing it because, again, the point of a company is to put out a product that the consumer wants to buy, and if they're not doing that, they shouldn't exist. So this tells me that, okay, they're obviously getting ESG money, they're getting government grants, there's effectively money laundering schemes going on in the entertainment industry. And again, what's happening with Ubisoft, I think is going to happen with BioWare, and BioWare might actually shut down, though. I mean, Ubisoft's on this fat downward decline, but BioWare, I mean, their fall was hailed at the, Mass Effect Andromeda, right? And since then, they're just into the shitter. So let's give this a watch, shall we?
As I excitedly slashed, blasted, wooed, looted, and delved my way through the stunning and enthralling world of Dragon Age the Veilguard, I kept having one thought. Wait, BioWare made this? 2024 BioWare?
You're really selling it.
With this game coming in the wake of the debacle that was Anthem, itself preceded by Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, which were both merely alright in hindsight, I wasn't sure these former masters of the role-playing game craft could make a game like this anymore.
Pause. No, those games were garbage. Like, Anthem didn't work on launch. That demanded, I think it was $70 from you. And I thought it was, I gave it a try, and I mean, if you compare it to games that are out now, it's okay, but back then it was atrocious. And Dragon Age Andromeda is something nobody asked for. Like, it's a textbook cash grab off the important major IP. But at least people were, at least, they were, looking at it, and they were just with a question mark, okay, I'm interested. You know, maybe want to know what they're going, what direction they're going in, and it just ended up being shit. And the same was kind of with Anthem, though. Again, the fact was Anthem was buggy, which overtook everything else. I mean, even if it wasn't buggy, people would just be like, okay, well, what the fuck is this? Like, yeah, you're already losing me.
But putting together my team of interesting and endearing companions to save the world felt like getting the old band back together, in more ways than one.
Archdemons attacking the north wall!
Try the horns.
The Archdemon's too loud!
No one's retreating.
There's no choice, sir. We're under siege. We have to fall back to the dragon trap.
Forget that.
Okay, I'm just listening to the dialogue, and this just seems like straight reads, right? Like in 1 and 2, they didn't tell you the fact, like, things were happening and bad, like, and things were bad. They invoked fear. You know, they didn't just like, oh, things are wrong. Play MP3 of explosion in background from freemp3s.com. Oh God, let's go. It's like they invoked fear, like the whole keep would be shaking, people would be ducking behind cover and behind tables. Like what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, man's actually inspect item fucking posture. Like, what the hell even is this? Like, I'm gonna be shitting. Like, I'm gonna turn this 14-minute video into a 1-hour video just off me shitting on the game.
Trap. Send word to Commander Janos.
Like, again, you hear the explosions in the background, but they just like, oh, this dude. It's like
outside the wall.
The scope of this adventure is the whole north of Thetis, sending you from the coasts of Ravane to the blighted wilds of the Anderfels, as you attempt to prevent the rise of an ancient and menacing evil. It was thrilling, as a longtime fan of the series, to finally see so many of the places I'd only read about in a journal entry way back in 2009. And the way BioWare has us go about that exploration is very focused and deliberate.
Okay, to be fair, and I guess this is the one of few compliments. I mean, the environment looks cool. It looks good. I mean, it looks kind of, like, pale. But that's probably just, you know, artistic design type deal. I mean, it looks completely different than what they've shown earlier. But this tells me, okay, there is talent somewhere. Like, there's talent in the way the world looks and in the way the world feels, right? And I guess this is where, you know, the competency comes. Unfortunately, I doubt it's with the story or the character creator or the marketing or anything else, right? But, okay, there's talent in making the environment look good and look appealing. So, okay, a few compliments I'll actually give.
Very focused and deliberate. Veilguard's level design was one of the first things that jumped out at me.
So not the gameplay or the combat. It's the, would you look at that? Would you?
Me of the original Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic almost more than anything.
Now you're already fucking lying. I mean, no, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was a product of the technology and of gaming at the time. And though it looks, you know, kind of, yeah, blocky now and the graphics look bad now, like, this was revolutionary when I played it when it first came out. I think it was for the original Xbox. Like, this was amazing, and the story was amazing. The characters was amazing. Like, you can just see just by the looks of them, right? You would think it would be better than this now, but you would be horribly mistaken.
The slick, looping corridors with just enough little nooks to discover are cleverly interconnected in a way that proves how a BioWare-style RPG gains a lot and loses almost nothing by
Okay, so they do what they've already been doing for the other two games. Cool.
ditching the idea of a fully open world. The exceptions to that are a couple of the more vertical...
I guess it'd be 3 games. I mean, I keep forgetting Inquisition's even a thing. I mean, it was fine when I played it, but I can't really remember any fucking set pieces from the game.
sections of the city of Minrathous, which can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to navigate sometimes. Across the board, though, the environment art is really jaw-dropping. From the desolate peaks of Kal Sharak to the surreal floating elven ruins in Arlathan Forest. I was very pleased with the character designs too.
Oh my god.
The armor and outfits are fabulous. I spent more than an hour in the character creator, like I usually do, and came out with a version of our protagonist, Rook, who delighted me every time she was in frame.
Okay, so looking back at what he literally just said, right? Why all these characters, I mean, you can tell that they're different races, right? But like, yeah, as you can see, they just look and are presented literally the same, like literally the same shirts, the same body posture, you know, with slight exceptions, right? Like, why couldn't you change the character looks instead of just copying, pasting here on, I'm assuming this is a body type A, and here this is a body type B, right? And are there less races here than in the other games? Probably. But, yeah, it's like, I look at this and I just think, like, this motherfucker be looking like Kevin Hart if he grew like 3 fucking feet. This looks like someone cosplaying as a Kiran. This just looks like a fucking, what's his name? Motherfucking T-Pain if he was Kevin Hart look style or had his fucking height. Body, basic body type B.
Outfits are fabulous. I spent more than an hour in the character creator, like I usually do, and came out with a version of our protagonist, Rook, who delighted me every time she was in frame. This might be some of the best looking hair I've ever seen in a video game.
I'll bet.
Even with all of that visual splendor, I was able to get a stable 60 FPS at 4K on my RTX 4070 Super with DLSS set to maximum performance, which...
Only 60? Like, isn't the point to sort of give people the best looking experience? Like, you're only getting 60 on that?
usually didn't affect the visual quality in very noticeable ways. The one exception to this was in the late game when there could be so many spell effects going off at once that I not only lose frames, it's also just difficult to even see what's actually going on.
Yeah, that's a skill issue on the part of the game. Like, you need to know what's happening, unless that's, you know, the intention, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a video game, right? Things still need to be presented correctly. Like, what I see are just AoEs after AoEs after AoEs, which is fine. But usually what you do is you'd spread things out, right? So yeah, things may look a little messy, but okay, there's a fight happening over here, there's a fight happening over here, there's a fight happening over here. And if you could control your characters, even with that clunkiness, if you could control the other characters, you wouldn't care. But again, these are things that they took away because they said you wouldn't be able to handle it. And it's like, okay, so what is this you speak of? The game journalist? In that case, I agree with you. You know, the people that will probably play this for like 2 hours, then dip. Yeah, in that case, I agree with you. They can't handle it, but I can.
the crackle and sparks, though, Veilguard's combat is definitely...
Like, yeah, I mean, you have, like, the health bar, all the... And I'm assuming you can get rid of all these things, right? But, I mean, it just looks blocky and weird from the presentation. Like, this needs to be, like, up here or something.
Definitely a refinement of what we saw in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. I've always preferred the more tactical style of Dragon Age Origins or Baldur's Gate 3, but that...
Yeah, me too. I mean, that was literally Dragon Age.
Ship sailed so long ago for this studio, not even the Evanurus remember what it looked like. And so, judging this very action-focused combat system for what it is, it's pretty good. BioWare has committed fully to the fast-paced style and refined it to a point that I enjoy it quite a bit.
I mean, I only really see, like, what, 1 effect magic, 2, maybe 3, 4, and maybe a basic. Like, what do you mean by refine? You mean, like, take away? Simplify? Like, sometimes more is better, like having, you know, maybe a couple extra combos, couple extra buttons you need to press is okay. I mean, this isn't like Eldenring where you bonk, dodge, bonk, dodge. I mean, people are fine with, you know, being intricate. Like, again, this is what made, you know, Baldur's Gate 2 good, right? This is what made Wrath of the Righteous Pathfinder okay. I mean, again, if you want people to think critically and actually play the game, have some level of min-maxing, that's what you do. If you just want, you know, oh, you get spell number 1, can't really, you press this, a thing happens. Spell number 2, you press this, another thing. If that's what you want, well then, I mean, that's boring.
And the ability to pause and issue party members' orders, just like in Mass Effect, still gives some opportunity for more tactical players like myself to look around the battlefield and consider our next move.
But it'd be better if you could actually switch to that player and do it then. I mean, that would just make it better.
It definitely feels better on a controller than mouse and keyboard, though. I was somewhat disappointed that party members are more like extensions of your own character in combat at this point, rather than their own entities. They don't even have health bars, for instance. They can't be knocked out, whereas you instantly lose an encounter if Rook goes down.
Yeah, that's... Again, that just feels like mechanics they took out. Like, again, because you had this... In Inquisition, you had to stack your characters to stay alive. Like, you're not only building up your main character, you're also building up the people around you, ensuring that they're... And again, that just adds a level of strategy, a level of character building and all of them, because you get invested in them, right? So you'll want them to play the best they can, even if you don't play the... Like, I'd never really switch to my other characters unless they do some stupid shit, or unless there's something they can do at a particular time that would do the most damage to, like, a dragon. But again, if you take that away, right, if they literally can't die, so they're effectively auto battling for you. Like, all you have to do is just play an archer or play a mage, sit the fuck back, and let them play the game for you. That's not good, right? That's boring. Again, if you're making this game for game journalists, I can see why they like it. But people who want to play a game, right? And no one wants Dark Souls level of difficulty, but some level of difficulty mechanics has to exist. Otherwise, why would I play the game? Like, why not I watch someone else plus suffer through the fucking game? Not that I will fucking play this, right? But if the intention is to make someone play a game and not, I don't know, play an overglorified walking simulator or occasionally you press X to do a thing, like, all this just seems bad. like their mechanics stripped away from the game, but they demand more money for you than they did with Inquisition, right?
They do have equipment slots and skill trees, though less than what Rook gets. But overall, the amount of customization available for the whole squad through piles and piles of interesting upgradable loot was more than enough to satisfy my RPG appetites, if not fulfill my wildest fantasies of intricate battle management.
Yeah, but customizations is one thing, like, but actually building up those particular characters, like, that also gives you replayability, right? Because, again, to my knowledge, there's this war on replayability, right? That's why in Baldur's Gate 3, anyone can have sex with everyone, whereas in Mass Effect 3, you had to pick specific dialogues, make specific decisions that some characters will like, some characters will hate. But if you're, I don't know, trying to romance Tali Zora Boss Normandy, right? You need, there's a specific line of dialogue, specific level of, like, amount of choices you need to make that better than, say, someone else. And, you know, back then you could play as a male, you can play as a female, and in, like, the Fallout series, but depending on who you play, you could have two completely different ways of playing the game above, you know, the classes, above how you chose to make your character, like, in the skills you have. Like, all these things just add to replayability. So with a $70 fucking game, you could put 3, 4, 5 times as many hours than you would going through the game, right? But again, I guess they just don't want to do this anymore in games, right? And again, that's another thing that has just been lost within this attempt to like appeal to an audience that doesn't exist, and to stop thinking of games like their genres.
Nice shot.
In my 100-hour, near 100%, almost obsessively completionist playthrough, I styled Rook as a Spellblade, a mid-ranged melee hybrid mage, and really enjoyed the playstyle once I'd unlocked all of my core tools. Dancing with a dagger through a lightning storm I summoned, darting out of danger and then back in for a lethal blow, is just a really good time that rewards.
Yeah, I mean, that looks cool. Like, all of this looked cool. Like, the executions. That looks fine. It's just, why is it in such a garbage game like this? It's like, you have nuggets of what would be considered quality, which is no different than what games used to do 10 years ago. But okay, if they're in a game, it just makes the game better. Above every other type of slop in mechanics that they took away, gameplay that they took away, right? Storytelling, role-playing aspects that they ripped out, right?
Towards precise timing.
The fact that all the races just act the same. So the Kiran are just humans that roleplay as Kiran. The elves are just humans that roleplay as Long. Like, they don't do what Lord of the Rings used to do in the past, where the elves look like a fantasy race, act like a fantasy race, right? And they treat other races with disdain. Like, the racism is what made the Lord of the Rings good. Same thing with the previous 2 Dragon Ages, right? It's the racism, because that is the essence of fantasy, right? But again, people who do not care for, like, their ideology is like, no, we need to treat fantasy like it's real, and we need to erase these things because we want to erase fundamental aspects of fantasy that would just make the game better. But no, we need to remove them.
And wise target prioritization. This isn't the tactical Dragon Age of my youth, but it is a Dragon Age I can vibe with.
Yeah, but that's bad. That's bad. Like, Why are you settling for less? Like, you deserve better, right? And you know this. Like, I get you're a games journalist and you don't really play games, but you deserve better. I deserve better. Gamers deserve better. And if better means just keeping what they had in 2 compared to this, then you should want that. Maybe building on upon what used to exist. But no, they're taking things away from Dragon Age that were fundamental aspects of 1, role playing, 2, Dragon Age in particular, and 3, just, fantasy, period.
And the highlights of combat are definitely the boss fights, which offer a really satisfying challenge, even on the default difficulty. While
yeah, maybe to you, but again, the fact that only you can die means you can just run around like a fucking idiot, occasionally make orders to your guys around you, then run around some more like a fucking idiot, or stay in the back. Maybe the dragon will aim to you, but you dodge out of the way. Again, I mean, gamers at a base just look for ways to game the system right. But if you hand them ways to game the system, that's not fun. It's not a game, right? It's boring.
Mob fights with Darkspawn or Venatori cultists eventually got a little repetitive after 90 plus hours. Going up against a high dragon never failed to get my blood pumping, as I had to carefully study attack patterns and think on my feet. In the sense that a BioWare RPG is really about your companions, also known as the friends we made along the way, this might be the most BioWare game of all time. Not only is the—
What the fuck? The most BioWare game of all time. You didn't even sound convincing when you said that. You sounded like you were supposed to say that. Like, no, this, I'm sorry, brother, this isn't it. And it's fine not living 100% up to what came before, because I get it. There's this odd culture and entertainment, and in gaming in particular, that wants to erase the past, right? But that's not the consumer mindset of gamers, right? The consumer mindset of gamers is, okay, the Dragon Age existed. They had 1, 2, and Origins, and Inquisition, or was Origins 2. I don't know, it kind of got weird with it. But, so you think this predisposes any of the Mass Effect games, predispose Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, right? And you think, no, this is the most BioWare game out of all of them. Like, and I doubt this game might sell because people are curious, right? But I don't. It's just I don't think it will have the soul that because again, they don't have the people that existed when those games were out. Like, they're doing the same thing any AAA gaming company does, and they try to mass produce art, which never works.
The whole squad made up of complex, memorable, likable, distinct personalities from across Thedas, but they're all treated as the stars of their own story. Veilguard is light on that classic kind of side quest that's like, help Bingo Bongo find some nug grease. And I don't miss those much, because they've been—
Well, because, okay, back then, like, the 1, they were optional, but 2, you had to work up to it in relationships, right? And again, in most cases, it was whole quest lines and entirely new areas that you go to complete the quest. But again, now I guess they're dumbing it down
been replaced by full-length heroic arcs for each companion, with twists, turns, a personal nemesis, major character developments, and a moment of triumph fit for a protagonist rather than a sidekick.
Our rogue necromancer has hidden something terrible behind this door.
It's like the writers took the loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2 and blew them up into 7 miniature games of their own. Almost.
Yeah, and see that's fine, right? That's a good thing, right? And you're adding just basic bitch RPG aspects that existed, right? And though, again, just having it makes the game good. I mean, you can build upon it and make the game better, but they don't. They take things away.
Every side mission ties into one of these, which obliterates the sense that you're just doing busy work.
Nothing I'm seeing makes me want to look away.
Picking a favorite of the 7 Veilguard members to talk about genuinely feels like an impossible task. I really want to just say all of them are my favorite, but I had a rewarding romance with the stoic Grey Warden Davrin and became mother to his fledgling Griffin pal Asan, so he's gotta be my pick for this playthrough. Asan, that is. Seriously, if anything ever happens to this little guy, I will wash Thetis away in a tide of fire.
God, again, that's fine. I mean, there's always the pet animal option in most fucking games that exist nowadays, which now it's cringe, but if it goes along with RPGs, it's fine.
Vincent Price-inspired gentleman necromancer Emmerich is also a delightful twist on the usual edgy goth death mage tropes.
We'll be fighting weirder stuff than necromancy.
And while we've been asked by the devs not to spoil specifically who I'm talking about here, as a non-binary person myself, Veilguard includes some of the most authentic representation of coming to terms with general gender stuff.
What the fuck does this have to do with the game? Like, what the fuck does this have to do? Again, and this is back to the idea of toxic positivity, where things are just added that don't add anything to the game. Okay, so gender identity, why? Who the fuck really cares? Like, okay, so if you're a trans woman, right? So, or if you're a man who transitioned into a woman, like, and you play the game, wouldn't you just play a woman? Like, why would you want to role play as not a real woman? I'll play a female. Well, I'm not playing this game, but I play a female character for a completely different reason than I guess what they think. And again, what the fuck is with this jawline? Like, bruh. And yeah, I am absolutely nitpicking, right? Because this is in every single fucking AAA game. And these are changes they made. And these are changes they make to just skimp on art style, skimp on, you know, artistic endeavors that would cost more money than just making just one basic template and just making few changes here and there, right? But why wouldn't you just play a woman? It's just these are whatever.
And having to navigate your family's reaction to it, I've yet to see in a game.
Why does this matter? It's like, okay, so according to the story, we're being attacked by, I don't know, some deity, some god. What the fuck does any of that have to do with it? Right? Oh yeah, they also added the transgender scar, just like, my brother in Christ, we have magic. Like, you can make an in-game reason why you can change your gender. Be like, oh, well, magical mumbo-jumbo happened and now you can do it. I don't care. But they add specific things, and again, toxic positivity. They add these things that make no sense, add nothing. Like, this is current day. Like, these aren't things people want to play, people care about. And I even see online on Twitter, like, people who are trans look at this as like, I'm sorry, what the fuck is this? What the fuck does any of this have to do with Dragon Age? Right? Like, and why is this an entire quest?
It doesn't feel like an after-school special or like I'm being pandered to.
My brother in Christ, you are. Even they may veil it in a way that maybe you're convinced that you're not. But again, BioWare is not a moral entity, right? If you don't identify as USD, they don't care. Like, these are all decisions probably made by people who, again, they think they know, like, they think they understand, right? But they don't actually consult gamers. They don't consult people who play games. They don't consult, trans people. They just add things in because they have a consultant that's like, add this, add this, add this, right? And I guess the rabid idiots on Twitter that defend it. But this doesn't add anything to the overarching game. And I doubt this really adds to your character. Again, this is people who just add these things that don't mean anything.
It's quite well handled, and finding out that the writer for this character is non-binary themselves, well handled. And
okay, so what are the options here? The play bar. Scars or lessons learned. Yeah, this would make the most sense. And this, scars are a badge of honor. These scars are sexy. What? I can't read the bottom option because this won't go the fuck away.
And finding out that the writer for this character is non-binary themselves did not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
A damn good-looking hero, if I do say so.
Because, again, it was probably a consultant, probably someone who adds these things that gamers don't really care about, right? The majority don't really care about. And again, in a fantasy world, like, a completely different reality, absolutely and objectively different and, like, away from ours. Like, this just is just current day bullshit.
The larger plot that's threatening the world in the background as we're doing all these more personal quests is nothing particularly outstanding in its overall structure. We need to unite some factions to fight some evil gods who are trying to do bad things with tentacles. The major wrinkle that...
If the story doesn't fucking matter to you, then that's bad. That's a skill issue on the part of the game. Again, they need to invoke feeling. They need to invoke, the whole grim dark that Dragon Age used to have, right? But again, I feel like they spent more time into this than actually the fucking story, which is a point of Dragon Age. Like, again, even if they tried and you don't care, well, they still tried, right?
Makes that interesting, however, is Solus, also known as the Dreadwolf, Fen'Harel, the elven god of lies and rebellion, waiting in the wings, keeping me guessing about whether he was a friend or foe.
I need to know what the gods are planning.
You are asking for knowledge no mortal in this world is privy to.
As a continuation of the Dragon Age series, Veilguard does feel a little disconnected from where we left off a decade ago. If you were expecting decisions from previous games in the series to carry over, I'm sorry to say they've never mattered less. You only get to...
Yeah, and again, I don't really... Again, I assume this is completely disconnected from Inquisition, right? But again, you would still expect some set pieces to carry over, but if nothing carries over, it's like, okay, so did this game just not exist? I mean, you're using the same characters, right? Same magic maybe, still like the same setting still exists, but this game doesn't.
To import 3 choices, one of which only comes up in the context of a single letter you may or may not find and read. You do get to recreate your Inquisitor from Dragon Age Inquisition, the same way Inquisition let you recreate your Hawk if you played Dragon Age 2, and the Inquisitor ends up being a fairly important character, which was cool.
It isn't just Inquisitor, is it? You were someone before that.
But things like who you chose to make the head of the Chantry at the end of Inquisition never come up. There's no sign of the Warden from Origins, even though you visit the stronghold of their order. Hawk gets only a passing mention. There are some other cameos from both Origins and Dragon Age 2, but those characters conspicuously don't reference any important choices you may have made in their presence.
Yeah, and again, that's fine, but, you know, this is, again, goes along with storytelling. Again, a piece of gaming that is just being removed for the sake of, you know, dumbing down the game itself, right? Like, people want cameos, people want slight callbacks to previous games and the choices and the decisions that are made because people want the chronological progression of the world, right? People don't really care for, okay, we're cutting it off here, and from here forward, we're just jumping off into the pool with no other references. Like, again, that's not gaming as an art. That's you just dropping fundamental aspects of writing and of the game, of Dragon Age, just to teeter out in the unknown. And, you know, gamers don't care for that, right? And unless, again, you did it in a way that's respectful to the previous games, right? But, again, the way you're describing it to me is they just effectively, they have member berries and that's it.
This story feels like both a send-off and a soft reboot in a way, which was a bit paradoxically refreshing and disappointing at the same time.
Agreed.
The pacing early on is kind of weird too, and I felt like I could practically smell the rewrites. For example, it's hilarious that no one ever says the word Veilguard out loud across the 100 hours I played of this dialogue-packed campaign.
Yeah, I think it's just a name that they just slapped on, right? I don't think it's really anything that they put any amount of thought into. Like, they probably started out making one game, then they rewrote the story, then they write in a bunch of bullcrap no one cares about. And they're like, okay, let's just settle the game. Or the name. It's cool if you could literally just have the Inquisitor from the previous, like, that'd be fucking hype. Right? Like, import it in via a file. That would be huge. But, again, it's a little bit of good icing on a shitty cake, in my opinion.
Exposing a last-minute marketing pivot for what it is.
Yeah, and that's bad, right? I mean, they chose to do away with maybe even good artistic value, and they just rewrite, and God knows what. If you have a lot of rewrites for reasons unknown, then that means the team is just not on the same page, because you probably had a lot of executive whoever the fucks making just 9 different people making 9 different decisions, and they add goofy shit that don't mean anything, and they take away things, and then you have the consultants that come in and they should rechange everything. Like, that's just a sign of an unhealthy creative environment.
You're making us sound like Solus. That's uncomfortable.
But it doesn't take too long for things to get on a good track story-wise, and when they do, they stay on it. Aside from one huge choice you'll make early on, the most interesting bits of narrative design don't come up until the very end of Veilguard's story. And again, it's hard to dig into this too much without spoiling something, but the finale is also very much in the spirit of Mass Effect 2, which has an ending that, up until now, may have been the best series of complex, consequential choices ever featured in an RPG.
I mean, that's also a lie. But I guess Dragon Age, Mass Effect 2's ending was alright.
The sacrifices I had to make in the closing hours hurt. The wise decisions I made paid off, and I even got the chance to dramatically flick an ace out of my sleeve at the very last moment, specifically because I took a very thorough and careful approach to everything leading up to that. It really felt like the ultimate reward.
Attack!
Throughout it all, the cinematic flair is off the charts, proving that BioWare is unmatched in the RPG world in that particular discipline. So much of the best stuff.
I mean, they definitely were, but now, no, I'd say no.
I can't even show you here, but parts of it felt like watching a big budget fantasy movie in the best ways. A triumphant and effective, if not quite iconic, score elevates these moments further.
I mean, and having, you know, good choices and decisions that actually matter depending on your choices you had previously in the game, like, that's always a good thing. Like, that's like a no fucking duh, right? Like, if you take that away, you're taking away just an RPG experience altogether.
Dragon Age the Veilguard refreshes and reinvigorates a storied series that stumbled through its middle years, and leaves no doubt in my mind that it deserves its place in the RPG pantheon. The next Mass Effect is going to have a very tough act to follow, which is not something I ever imagined I'd be saying before I got swept away on this adventure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because the company is garbage, not because it's really in competition with anything.
It's good to have goals in life.
Enjoyable action combat, a fantastic cast of allies with sweeping story arcs all their own, top-notch cinematics, and moving, nuanced character writing are the wings on which this triumphant dragon soars.
Watch the wings!
Pulling out all the stops in a whirlwind tour of Northern Thedas, and capping it with a terrific finale that's built on memorably tough choices and consequences. If we never get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note.
Yeah, and see, this is why people are mad, right? And let's talk about, like, any other game that people universally agree will be better than this game, and you understand universally had more consumers buying, you know, have higher praise from the consumer, right? According to IGN, they rank less than this game that I know might sell a little bit off of, you know, people being curious, but miraculously no one's gonna remember this game other than the fact that, oh, it's BioWare attempting to do this again. But he's like, no, this is a 9 out of 10, an amazing game. You know, a game where, again, if you even compare, and I don't really like comparing one game to another, but I'll compare Dragon Age the Veilguard to previous Dragon Ages, right? Because they're from the same company, you know, and you would think the team or the idea that existed in one Origins and Inquisition would carry over, but it's like, no. They've completely dropped the majority of the mechanics, the majority of, even of the story and storytelling, to just, I guess, shove out this game, what was it, 9-10 years later, right? And they add things that made no sense, right? And this is a 9 out of 10 according to Mr. IGN Man. And I previously watched a video that talked about, oh, well, there's just a bunch of some guys making game reviews, and everyone obviously going to have different opinions. And it's like, okay, there's been cases where not only IGN, but other games companies took a firm moral stance, right? And these stances were against the consumer, like they did it with Black Myth Wukong. They did it with Stellar Blade. They did it with Hogwarts Legacy. Like, if you're going to take a firm moral stance and claim that, our reviews is just a bunch of couple guys, but when it comes to our moral stances, no, this is what the gaming industry aspires to. It's like, yeah, people are going to keep you in that level when you make your goddamn goofy ass reviews, right? Like, I can tell, like, this game's not a 9 out of 10 for me. One, because I stripped the majority of what made Dragon Age away, both artistically, story-wise, gameplay-wise, even the shit he's saying in this video. He says, I'm not convinced, right? Just by the way he says it.
Get another Dragon Age, at least it got to go out on a high note.
Even if that means our world has to burn.
For more amazing RPGs from this year,
Yeah, and again, a 9 out of 10. Again, over games that are like one Black Myth Wukong that's breaking records, right? And I actually we know the reviewers had to say, because they've given, the Bible of rules on what you're allowed to say when reviewing this game, and obviously IGN just was like lockstep with it. One of them was you had to say, oh, the game's returning to form, and you're not supposed to shit on specific things, right? And because of that, people tell that these game journalists, sites are just like, okay, so you're just effectively a puff piece. They absolutely drop the majority of criticism that, is a return to form. Yeah, that's one of the things they had to say. And they shut their ears and eyes off to what the consumers have to say about the game. The fact that the ugly character design. Again, this is why people just do not have faith in IGN or any other journal. They don't have faith in the AAA gaming industry as a whole. They don't have faith in, gaming journalist outlets. There's just no faith in this. You forgot to write sponsored. Yes. I clicked on this video mainly for the comment section. Absolutely. Okay, 7.5 likes. 442,000 views. Yeah, I don't need to look at the dislike rate to know. Sort by top comment. I clicked the video merely to the comment section. He gave Wukong an 8, Celebrated a 7, and this Abomination a 9. Okay, yes. Because they don't care what the consumer, people who put food on the table of these companies, have to say. In case you're wondering, around 49,000 dislikes. Oh, yeah, again, there's extensions that tell you this. Oh, where is that motherfucker? I can't really like. Todd lied better, yes. A 9, huh? Are you sure that number didn't accidentally get turned upside down? No, I mean, I'd give this game like a 2. Because again, there's clearly talent somewhere, but it's not in anything that gamers actually care about. Let me guess. It has a quirky band of endearing characters that will stay with us long after the credits roll. Yeah, it's probably going to be like Fortnite or Marvel humor. This is not a Dragon Age game. They took a dark series and turned it into Pixar-looking kids' tales. Yes. They made this game for the largest possible audience, and that effectively means dumbing everything down. The gaslighting is... Yeah, I'd give the gaslighting a 10 out of 10. Slick looping corridors with just enough little nooks to explore is a nice way of saying this is linear as fuck. Yeah? Yeah. This pronoun war is why Space Marine 2 Wukong Cell Blades are dominating gaming right now. I mean, it's ideology, but this is the sword and shield they use to beat people over the head with, right? As a non-binary person myself, enough said. Yeah. How's the ratio? This is a sales pitch, not a review. Yeah, absolutely. Because again, they're not allowed to shit on blatantly bad products. They're not allowed to point out any of the gamer criticism. The writing is frankly terminal. It lacks a nuance or wisdom. It cannot communicate ideas except to say them aloud to the camera. It's manufactured, petty, unbelievable tension because it doesn't know how to create anything more real, and it's too scared to ever be truly confronting or dark for fear that it might make the audience uncomfortable. Every interaction, yes. Yes. I have reported this video for misinformation. It's also illegal to disguise a paid advertisement as a review. Again, they're not being paid to do this, right? But they're being given a hell of a lot more incentives to do this. As a mentally disabled person myself, this review is precisely why I never rely on IGN for gaming review. How's the game a 9 out of 10? Yeah, I mean, people effectively just shit on IGN. I identify as non-binary. Oh my god. Thank you for the fucking title to this video. Non-binary. Should I have a disclaimer for sponsored content? Who here after the Fex Life video? Don't know what that is. Let's guess which mods are going to be removed first. Yes. Again, they're going to probably remove any of the mods that get rid of blatant bad art designs. They're only ones not disappointed in the game. Engage, Space Marine, Sparkling Zero, both 7 out of 10. And the new COD 8 out of 10. And this a 9 out of 10. Yeah. IGN with a strong 0% journalistic integrity. Space Marine 2 got an 8 out of 10. They scored this higher than Space Marine 2. I will remember this, IGN. Yeah. It panders to my mental illness. 9 out of 10. Goddamn, man throwing hands. Evil cannot create. It can only corrupt. J.R. Martin. Yes, and this is what's happening with the gaming industry. Again, you have ideological individuals that don't want to create anything. They don't want to subvert, change, then I guess impose their daddy issues on gamers and the consumer. Care for IGN. I can smell the blue hair dye. It's been said that if Veilguard flops, it's like the next Mass Effect game will never get made. That's almost a relief at this point. Leave it be. Why does everyone have giant heads? Yeah, and that's the thing with the character design. It just looks weird. Yeah, not even worth pirating. Yeah, people ain't even bothering to fucking pirate this game. Yeah, I think this was like, what, a day ago? Yeah. For a 15-minute review, said a little in a way of interesting critique. Certainly didn't sound like a 9 out of 10. Yeah, again, just listening to the guy speak, it just seems like PR speak and has no substance. Well, at least we can applaud to the balls of IGN for not shutting down the comment section. I doubt they even really read the comment section. As a non-binary person myself, it all makes sense now. Don't trust the review. Imagine scrolling this shite higher than Wukong. Damn, so many complaints, lacking of interest, story backgrounds, story, lack of previous decisions, references, and disconnection from Inquisition and previous events, weird pacing, predictable, repetitive enemy design, / encounters, and difference of preference that is absent from the game, but it still gives a 9 out of 10. That's crazy. Again, people are just looking at the review, like, and what he says versus what he sees. And hypocrisy is an insult to someone's intelligence. Like, what would we consider this? Like, they're telling you one thing, and they're showing you the complete opposite. So they're effectively straight lying to your face, right? Like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Who the fuck are you? Like, but anyway, again, I'd give this game a 2 out of 10 because, okay, maybe there's talent somewhere, but it's not anywhere no one really cares about. And again, it's a game, I suppose. It's something, but I don't know. Wouldn't even pirate, probably wouldn't wait for it to. At this point, people are just not buying this out of spite. Like, okay, maybe they can grasp some enjoyment out of it. But, I mean, my win condition is to remain in disinterest. So BioWare fails and games like this fails. Like, their win condition is to try to gaslight and trick normies and, I guess, ESG into giving them money. But my win condition is to not play this, to play Zaneless Zone Zero. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with my win condition, But that's all I got to say about this. See ya.